Looks like we're live. Thank you for all of our listeners who pointed out to us that Montana State's not in Billings. Oh my God, why is my phone recording me saying something? That's always great. Um, yeah, but we need to quickly address this though before we hit the open on the show today. We're not
Yeah.
talking any FCS. We're doing FBS Week 1 preview. You need to turn off your audio on your computer.
God damn it, you're right.
Nice. We're off to a hot start here. All around technical prowess is elite. We're talking to FBS Week 1 preview. We're talking a little bit of takeaways, final takeaways from the preseason that stood out. But yeah, I would not be remiss that we got a ton of people that tuned in for our Week 0 Montana State recap, and I don't point out when I'm sick, but guys, I'm sick and I feel like shit right now. I didn't need 10 goddamn people tagging me in that to point out that my geography skills are off, that Billings is not where Montana State is. I realized it after I said it. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. I apologize to those that apparently were offended by incorrect geography. I'm going to have to repeat this on the FCS show when we tape this week, but I was not... That reaction,
Yeah,
unwarranted.
It kind of feels like Tattletale game
A little bit,
with the people that want to that need to make note that that's something that's you can for us is trivial. It's a trivial mistake between Bozeman and Billings. You're two towns in Montana with the two biggest schools. How about you get names that aren't as similar? But it's trivial to us. It may not be to you. And mistakes, accidents, whoopsies happen every now and again. So I think that we've put in a fair enough amount of work to not have all the narcs come down and rain down on us and start tagging people and doing the point fingers and laugh game because we're boobs. Sometimes we're boobs. It happens.
Sure. Speaking of which, by the way, my stomach is a mess right now. If I, in the event, I mean, actually, I'm not gonna pussyfoot around. If I shit my pants, do we just continue the show and I sit here through it? I've been fine all day. I haven't had any issues, but I feel like it has to be. If I was sitting here alone doing Rufino and Joe, probably could have powered through without anybody knowing. But for my respect for you, do you care if I sit here? Or do you need me to get up and vacate the room?
Okay, a couple questions on this.
Okay.
I would mind. Where are you at right now on level of 1 to 10? 10 being it's already happened. 1 being I'm in the clear.
It hasn't. I actually feel a lot better than I did earlier. All I ate was a loaf of white bread today, which is what you're supposed to do. So I think I'm in the clear. I think I'm fine. We don't have anything that's not being held down. The stomach's surviving.
How's that white bread, by the way?
Dude,
it's so good.
I don't know about you, but whenever I'm sick, I kind of look forward to just eating a whole untoasted loaf of white bread. If you get the right loaf, I got the hearty white ones.
Oh yeah,
it's got like a little. I don't know what that white stuff that's sprinkled on top of
Probably
it.
flour.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense. That was a great meal today. I ate some saltines, but that bread, man, that'll.
I know you've been on healthy breads and no breads and weird breads.
Sure.
So whenever you get a good potato roll or a delicious slice of white bread, it's like biting into a mattress. It's fantastic.
Okay, so good to know that I need to run out of here.
I prefer if you. Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. But I think that we haven't set that rule for the studio. If there's any bodily just accidents that happen here, we're two toddlers that we need to be worried about this.
Well, I still haven't rigged up the fart mics yet, but today, if there's a circumstance like this, oh, good, there goes that great idea. You're knowing that idea.
The fart mic?
Yeah, the fart mic.
No, I don't think that anyone wants to listen to us fart.
They will never know when it's coming.
We don't even have for that to be effectively executed, we would need some sort of like an anti-cough button, so that like when you're gonna go do it, you push the button and then you fart and then you push the button. And
we can make a signal. I'll raise the gate real quick for you if you need it.
There's just a lot that would require for that operation to.
I got 2 more outlets right here.
I pray that we never reach that point. I
Yeah.
absolutely pray that we never reach that
Oh,
point.
of innovation. You know what? This sounds like Jonathan Wozniak in the back office. Are you about the second build? Someone needs to take a step forward into the future, man.
Sure. All right, we're gonna hit the open here, and then right after we come out, we are going to jump into our FBS Week 1 preview. We'll be right back.
And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for like probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
All right, folks, welcome into Hack City. Joe DeLeone, Sean Anderson. Today, as I mentioned, we are going to be talking about Week 1 of FBS football. 3 games that caught our attention. We might talk about a few more on the Wednesday show that we're going to be doing live at the same time. We're going to be live every Monday, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then we're going to be going live on Friday mornings doing mostly mailbag questions in reaction to anything that's happened on Thursday nights. Before we get into our FBS preview, as well as just general final preseason NFL thoughts, Sean, can you share with our listeners a word from BetOnline where they can go bet for Week 1?
I'd love to. I already caught the bug placing bets for this week already.
Oh, I've already put 5 in. I've already started painting the board. We're ready to go.
You're ready to paint the bowl, brother.
Okay.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. You just tossed Braun an oop there and expected him not to jam it. From preseason NFL to college kicking off, BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? You do. I don't. Get in on their winner-take-all $300,000 NFL Survivor pool for the upcoming season. I'll be a part of it. It should be a fun time. When the game's over, head on over to their online casino, take your nice winnings from your smart brain, and go play some blackjack. Go play some poker. Have a good time. It'll make a fun, degenerate Saturday for all. Head to the website today and use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, and get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here.
All right, first game that you folks can go bet on and that we're going to be talking about is Clemson versus Georgia. This game is going to be played neutral site, but it is in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, which is basically a home game for Georgia. Noon on Saturday. A little anticlimactic, I feel like, for a big matchup like this being played at noon, but I'm excited that we're starting with 2 behemoths, or at one point, one of these teams used to be a behemoth of the college football world. Sean, I don't know about you, man. I'm really not high on Clemson this year, just generally. But this is like a horrible matchup to be walking into. Clemson, their offensive lines and their defensive line is going to be fine. Blake Miller, Tristan Lay, quality linemen, above average in the ACC. They're going to be able to hold their own in this game. I think they're going to have no issues not running the ball to a crazy clip, but having production running the ball on the ground with Phil Maffa. But where I just don't know where Clemson's going to find success is trying to air the ball out. Trying to throw the ball is going to be a brutal, brutal task going against what is always a strength in Georgia's secondary. I have no freaking clue who the receivers are. I know Jake Brenningstool's great. I know that Kate Klubnik needs to work on things, and it's the second year for him in Garrett Riley's offense, and maybe that's something to be optimistic about. But I have no freaking idea who is going to emerge as the number 1 guy. And I don't know if that's something that can happen in Week 1 against the best team in the country.
It would have to be a revolutionary start for Cade Klubnik to put them in true contention with Georgia in this game. We were watching some tape last week of Clemson's offense last year, and Klubnik was making some very questionable decisions all throughout the game versus Notre Dame. It was rough at times watching him just from a quarterback standpoint. He would have to come into this game revolutionized to I don't know, have it close in the fourth quarter, in my opinion. Maffa's a beast. I think that he is going to be the focal point of this offense all season. Has to be. It has to be running the rock. They have big heavies up front. They do. They got some big, meaty guys. Lateral movement, not that great, but they can get some push. So if you can get vertical against Georgia in the run game, then that's the closest thing you have to a success and finding a path to a close game in the fourth quarter, which is all Clemson should expect going into this game. Ranked 14, that's fine, but they don't do a lot of the things to stay up to par with the national powerhouses that we would expect a Clemson Tigers team to be able to do. But it's Dabo's procedure. I've grown to respect it more and more the longer that it goes. Him saying F the transfer portal, I'm sticking it out my own way.
Why would you respect that?
He's going against the grain. I will respect that he is
going against the grain does not always
he does it so
success.
thoroughly, though. I'm not saying it's producing success. I have Georgia smoking Clemson in this game, but I have to respect his hard-headedness and his blind faith in Dabo. Dabo has as much faith in the good Lord as he does in Dabo.
You know who Dabo is? Dabo's the guy in like the 90s that was saying, "Oh, the internet's not going to be a big thing. Why would I invest any interest or time in that? We build our teams," or that's what he has basically said, though, is that like, why would I try to build my team the way that everybody else is doing it when we've had success building through high school? And look at all the guys that are coming back. That's what he said. It is asinine, and we've criticized him. We've talked about him on this show. I've talked about it plenty with much more vigor on Ruffino and Joe. I have been very, very critical of Dabo. I think that's going to come back to bite him in the ass in this damn
You're
game.
real hard on Dabo, man.
There's a couple of coaches I'll gladly be hard on them. Gladly will be. And I'll do it consistently.
He still wins games. I don't see Dabo making a lot of the dumb decisions. That's why I like Dabo.
He also loses games that he's not supposed to, and then is now going to get his ass kicked by a team that's significantly better than him.
His team's talent gap is increasing between the powerhouses. That's true. It's just how you see him on paper. It's widening. But I still believe in Dabo to a point where I think he's a really good in-game coach, and I think he's a very good motivator for a team of guys that want to play Dabo ball. And that's why he can never be truly out on Dabo and Clemson.
One thing that's kind of interesting to think about in this game is that last year, Georgia had health issues and also just general talent issues at receiver. They didn't have a lot of options, especially when Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey were consistently unhealthy for spurts throughout the season. And the way that Kirby Smart, who has always been quick to always be adaptable and quick to transition and quick to understand what he needs to do to make his team better, they went in the portal and they added receivers. They added running backs because they were also thin at running back at one point. They were down to way down on their depth chart at running back. Trevor Etienne is going to be huge for them this year. It's crazy to kind of put together this dichotomy of philosophies of, we've got somebody who has consistently been ahead of the curve with somebody who was once great, was once the head chief of college football, was the next face. Was some people even at one point were quick to project that he would replace Nick Saban, and his name wasn't even really brought up at all during that hiring process for Alabama. It is really interesting to look at that dynamic in this game between these two guys, because like one team prepared to upgrade and to improve on what hindered them, and they lost receivers in the portal this year.
I think the cultural differences between Clemson and Georgia, and especially Kirby and Dabo, are highlighted. I mean, Dabo is, I am bringing your son to play college football and become a well-rounded person academically, football, everything. And then Kirby is football, and I don't care what he does off the field. And I'm sure he does care. Don't get after me. I'm saying it's two different programs in two different directions for two different worlds of college football that they're both living in. It's really, I'd say, exact opposites between Clemson and Georgia.
I think this game is going to be lopsided. I don't know about you. I really think that this game is going to be so heavily in Georgia's favor. I keep bringing this up, and it has nothing to do with Clemson and comparing them to Oregon, and it has everything to do with where the game's being played, it kicking off the season, and it being one of the first games of week one. When Georgia played Oregon in 2022, when they went on their national championship run and they were a behemoth and they completely just eviscerated everybody that they played.
Yeah.
They embarrassed Oregon in that situation. Again, very different situation, because Oregon, it was the first game ever for Dan Lanning, and it was just such a tough spot, and Bo Nix was just thrown to the dogs in that situation. But I think that for that reason of like, you're going into a hostile environment, for some reason that that Mercedes-Benz Dome is just always so favorable for Georgia. Actually, not for some whatever reason. We know the reason. It's played in their goddamn backyard. It could not be more of a hotbed for Georgia fans. There is not going to be very many Clemson fans sitting in the stands for this game. I think that's frankly enough for me to feel good about it. Plus some of these just talent gaps of where are the matchup advantages? Like, where the heck does Clemson even have a matchup advantage that we can point to that we can say is going to help them win the game?
I think it's very possible Klubnik throws for under 100 yards in this game.
Okay, that's a bit hyperbolic.
Are you kidding me?
Under 100 yards?
I think he could go for like 95 yards.
That's
I
hyperbolic.
think they're going to have to run the ball. That Georgia defensive backfield, I think, takes away all of the pass game from Clemson.
Under 100, not under 200.
I think no, under 100.
2024, brother. This is in Iowa.
I'm telling you, I think Georgia will make them look like Iowa. They burned off a lot of steam last year at the end of the season against Florida State, beating them by 60 points when they were eventually ranked 5th and left out of the CFP. I think they want to continue on some form of a revenge tour for being left off. That 13.5 that Georgia's favored by does not scare me at all. I am not worried about that 2-score number.
That was one of the bets that I placed. I took Georgia to cover. I took him to cover. I feel pretty confident about that. That's another. Ryan says that Clemson is going to run the triple option. I would honestly pay.
If they did that, I'd hedge my bet and double down on Clemson.
They're going full Paul Johnson. They're running the triple option. I think the other thing too, though, with this, you brought up the bowl game against Florida State. How much of a gap that there looked like watching that game between Florida State and Georgia. And yes, we can do the whole Florida State was without so many of their starters. Georgia was also without a number of their starters.
Yeah.
And they're bringing back a lot of those guys that played in that bowl game. If there was that much of a gap between Georgia and Clemson or in Florida State when they were trying to prove a point, I don't think that they're going to beat them by 1,000,000 points. But I think that paints the picture of how much of a disparity we're going to see once this game kicks off.
That was brutal seeing them get left out, and then poor Florida State had to back up all that talk and all that chatter against the best team in the nation last year. Who scheduling, win your games, win the SEC championship you're in. We don't have this conversation, but boy, that was a beatdown and unfavorable. I think. Where do you stand on the over under in this match? 48.5 for Georgia Clemson.
I haven't really thought about that.
48.5.
Oh,
I think I like the under. I
haven't thought about that. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know if I have a pick on that yet. I don't know if I could just dish one of those. I don't want to just recklessly dish a over under prediction.
Not official. We're just spitballing here.
Yeah, I'm not going to spitball here.
Okay, gotcha. Hack City, the spitballing show where we do no spitballing. Right on, man.
Ryan says don't touch the over under, which I don't disagree with. Yeah, I don't like that number. I just think that's why I was saying that I wouldn't spitball. I don't know if either side of that
I'll be lame this year. I think I'm going to take way more unders. And I say that every single season, and then by week 3 I forget that I said that and just the over monster, but I'll hold myself more accountable this season, I think.
All right, let's get to our next game that we've got. Another Saturday game. We're going to talk about Florida and Miami on the Wednesday show. Texas A&M versus Notre Dame, Kyle Field in College Station. Kickoff is at 7:30 on ABC. I believe a lot of the money right now is flowing in Texas A&M's favor. I chalk that up to, and I said this on a radio spot that I did, I just chalk that up to, I think a lot of people just naturally letting the SEC bias flood into their decision-making in a bet like this. A lot of people would love to bet against Notre Dame. Sure, maybe that's a little bit of my fandom bleeding into my
it's
commentary.
It's closer to the latter than the SEC bias, I'd say.
I think this game is going to be extremely close. It is a very hostile environment for Notre Dame to be stepping into. I think where Notre Dame has the clear advantage is that Texas A&M has a completely new coaching staff. They've got turnover at a number of positions, depth at a number of positions. Their secondary could be a complete mess. And Notre Dame's wide receiver room, I think, is going to surprise all the teams on their schedule, which it's not exactly like they're playing very many competitive teams on their schedule, but they could really shock them in week 1 with all the speed that they have in that receiver room. I'm leaning Notre Dame. I can't not pick them in a situation like this. I have picked against Notre Dame before, but I'm not going to do that in this game. I'm holding faith that Marcus Freeman will not get out coached by Mike Elko's first game at Texas A&M. Actually, I wish I said this on Rufino and Joe show. This has always been the death of Marcus Freeman. For some reason, there's always games on the schedule where they just come out so freaking flat and they just look so unprepared and unmotivated. And I need that not to happen, man, because this is not the place to show up unmotivated and unprepared and look like they're half asleep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to see Notre Dame just get right to it and get smoked early. I wish they won't. I don't think this is going to be. There's no chance that they get blown out. And I'm not.
Ryan brings up a good point, by the way, that they haven't necessarily come out flat in a first game of the season, but like
the stars are aligning. You can almost see it where it's Marcus. It's time for it to be Marcus Freeman's big year. They have an easy schedule and they have a path to the playoff. Why not shoot ourselves in the foot early and lose to Texas A&M? That's how I see the stars aligning while everyone's ready in a huge week 1 SEC matchup. Notre Dame has this weird karmic tone to them where when they start, it's all on the fans. It's all on the fans and where their belief system is. Joe right now, he has been my gauge, and he gives me a little bit of faith because of his honesty so far about Notre Dame this season, where I think that Notre Dame can get away with it.
Yeah, I'm reserving judgment because on paper, Notre Dame should win this game.
Yeah.
They're coming in with one of the best defenses in the country, which is not hyperbolic. It is not an overreaction. It's not an over-exaggeration, none of that. The defense, most of those guys come back. Howard Cross, Riley Mills. Maybe they don't have a premier pass rusher, but RJ Oben, who they brought in from Duke's a good player. Their secondary is phenomenal, and they had a ton of turnovers last year. They bring in one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Riley Leonard, who for some reason people just immediately decided to forget about in most conversations.
They have the better quarterback in this matchup.
I wouldn't go that far. I think that Connor Weigman is close, but Riley Leonard is more experienced and he's played more, and I think he's a better receiver room coming into this game.
I think he's better personally.
Hey man, I'm not going to.
I'm excited to see him go 8-4, but I think he's better.
You're excited to see Connor Weigman go 8-4?
No. Riley Leonard.
Oh, you're a dick. What's your pick on this game though? What do you think that the play out is? Because obviously we know where I'm going with this.
Texas A&M favored by 3 is nasty work because you're giving 3 points just because they're at home. That's
so it's a pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em. Oh, this is nasty work. You know, my brain is telling me Notre Dame. It's saying, look, they are not going to be the clowns of college football this year. They're not going to start off being with a big pie in their face. We already had Florida State do that, which is great. That they already took a lot of the pressure and the heat off of Notre Dame for coming out flat and falling on their face. So my brain makes that rationalization, seeing where the momentum is going in college football. My heart says Texas A&M giving 3 in the pick'em. That's fine with me. I think I'll ride with the Aggies and under Mike Elko and have those boys go out there fired up, ready to go and start the new era. No more Jimbo, no more crazy speeches.
You're just unbelievably
money.
Unbelievably consistent with you just can't not pick, or you always have to pick against Notre Dame. When have you ever picked Notre Dame? Have you ever picked them? I think you even picked against them when they played Louisville and we talked about it. I'm pretty sure that you did, didn't you?
I think
you picked Clemson too. Piece of garbage.
I think I picked against them when I picked them when they were playing Duke. I had them there.
Oh yeah, how generous of you.
They should have won that game, and they barely did.
Piece of garbage. You're absolutely.
Because they put
deliberate.
out.
It's deliberate. This is deliberate.
I think Kyle Field's going to be rocking. I think they get down different down there.
What does that even mean? Yeah, they get down with the male cheerleaders, man. Yeah, that's like a real. Okay, wait. I'm not gonna catch myself. I'm not gonna catch myself again. Yes, I'm not gonna get cooked by Texas A&M fans like I did during.
That might throw all those nice Catholic fans coming down to watch the game.
It is a very hard environment to play in. I think that is a huge factor. It looks like it's supposed to rain on Saturday, and it's gonna be really freaking humid, and it's gonna be 90 degrees. I don't know what temperature is gonna be at kickoff, but that is horrible. Horrible conditions. Also, Ryan, yes, go ahead. Please clip Sean. I would absolutely love for the Notre Dame fans to come take another victory.
Oh
lap
yeah,
on
I'm
his
terrible.
dumbass head.
I'm tired. I go ahead. You can martyr me. Martyr me. That's what. Go ahead. I'll be Mr.
That doesn't make you a martyr. That just makes you a villain. I don't think that makes you a martyr, because a martyr would imply that everyone's rallying behind you.
I bet they are
for your cause.
Yeah. My cause, anti-Notre Dame. I'm sure that'll be the easiest martyr of history.
Oh no, and Ryan's saying he wants to clip me for the male cheerleaders comment.
Clip that. Get him going again.
Yeah, that has to still be one of the funniest things from the offseason, because so many like big personalities responded to that. It went rampant with the response that clip had, where I said that Kyle Field wasn't that tough of an environment. And it was probably one of the most sarcastic comments that I had. I don't know. I'm just not on the same page with Texas A&M fans. I guess that sarcasm is not something that happens often in College Station.
Look, don't try to drag me into this pot with you.
You're dragged
Crabs
in.
in the
You're
barrel.
you're dragged
past
in.
the Old Bay. I'll say this: 3 points is disrespectful to Notre Dame.
Did you just make that saying up? Is that
Crabs in the barrel past the Old Bay? It's an MF Doom lyric. I think a 3-point favor for Texas A&M is disrespectful. It should be an outright pick 'em if you want to have it this even. Notre Dame is a team with a good roster, and I think they have as many strong players, if not more, than Texas A&M. So the lines here skewed, in my opinion, and disrespectful to the Fighting Irish. Don't care. I would have still taken Texas A&M anyways. Rolling with the Aggies.
Ryan, we're not bringing up Lenore Sellers, by the way. That one was totally on me. That one, there is no leeway on the way that I commented on trying to make fun of a kid for wearing rec specs. That was also sarcastic, but was also just a little bit too forced. All right, let's talk about the last game that we're talking about on today's show before we get to Florida State versus Georgia Tech, which stupidly we were supposed to open with that, and I misread the doc. You need to put together a better rundown so it's easier for me to read, you dickhead. No, I'm just kidding. Last game that we're talking about, though, is LSU versus USC. Another ranked on ranked matchup. This game is going to be played on Sunday, the 1st of September, 7:30 on ABC. It is in Vegas. I think that the LSU fans are going to try and drink Las Vegas dry if they can. This is a really interesting game, Sean, because you've got two teams that have extremely similar circumstances, down to the point of your head coaches were hired away from other premier programs in order to get them to come take over your current team. You had Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks that were leading your programs that went on to be consecutive first and second overall picks in this past draft. You have new defensive coordinators because your defenses were terrible. Not bad, not weak, terrible. They were completely run and passed all over in every single game that you had and were your biggest weakness. And both these teams, for Lincoln Riley and for Brian Kelly, they need momentum to start this year. I think that Lincoln Riley's got a lot less leeway than Brian Kelly does. Not saying that he'll particularly get fired, but it sounds like there is a lack of patience a little bit more for Lincoln Riley than there is with Brian Kelly, just from the national perspective.
Feels that way.
Feinbaum hates him. I love listening to Feinbaum just crap on Lincoln Riley, but
Feinbaum had himself a day-to-day also. Goodness.
Why? What do you?
The
Colorado
Dion
thing.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this game, though? Where are you leaning?
Oh, I have to lean LSU. Pardon me. LSU clears this game, in my opinion. I might have the most fun watching this game out of all the full slate, just so I can watch Will Campbell play a full game, dominating USC defensive line. It's going to be teach tape. Watch the left tackle of LSU this game if you care about offensive linemen, and if you think your NFL team is going to have a very high draft pick next year. Watch him. Watch him go to work and move these humans into the dirt. I am so fired up to watch him in a new year. 4.5 is perfect for me. USC scares me not one bit going up against LSU. They were soft as shit last year. They're still going to be soft. Maybe they'll be a little harder. Maybe USC said we're going to lock in. We're going to be a little bit better on defense. Doesn't matter. I think LSU clears this game. USC starts off incredibly flat. I don't think they get much momentum on offense. LSU's defense isn't going to be a world beater this year. No one's pegging them to be, but
Blake is.
Does that count?
Yeah, it counts for something. And he's been at practices.
Okay. A lot of people have been going to practices. I'm just saying, I think if we're talking
you're gonna
about
piss off Blake.
homerism. Go ahead, Blake. Yell at me about the second team linebacker being better than any other linebacker in the nation and how he should be playing down in the dirt. Tell me more about Harold Perkins' new number. I can't wait to hear it. It's always something with this stupid
number.
team. You're flipping me on this whole LSU nonsense. I thought he switched to 7 this year.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, is he wearing 7?
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was the 7 guy.
I'm pretty sure I saw that post. I'm taking LSU, and now I'm starting to talk because I'm thinking about the annoyances that comes with LSU. All of this nonsense.
There's more annoyances that come with USC. Look,
I would agree.
Plain and simple for me, if you look at the issues for both these teams last year, I think LSU had the bodies, maybe not on their defensive line, or they don't this year have the guys on their defensive line to feel good about them in the interior because they put out 3 guys to the NFL. There's going to be a lot of turnover. I mean, they brought in a freaking guy from Grand Valley State because they were so thin at defensive line in the interior, but their secondary was completely poorly utilized by Matt House. And I think that Blake Baker is a great defensive mind, is going to know how to set up his guys for better success. He got really good production out of 2 corners that were fine athletically, that were good players, and elevated them to the point where a lot of people were hyping them up during the draft process. But USC's issues were they weren't tackling, and they had terrible intent to tackle, tackling form.
It was lazy.
Nobody
defense.
was breaking down or anything. The scheme was horrible, but the intention and the effort, just tackling. The most simple procedure on defense. They were just looking for turnovers. That was all they were trying to do. As much as I think that the defensive line improves under D'Anton Lynn, and I love D'Anton Lynn, I can't buy into assuming that all of those tackling woes were fixed in one offseason. That's something that's going to take some time, and maybe it's this year, but it's going to be later on in the season if they start to be more consistent with that.
We could poke a lot of holes in that LSU defense last year. There were glaring issues, and it looked bad and really bad at times. But there was a team that was way worse every single week in and out on defense, and they're playing them this week in USC. It's too much of an overhaul. It is a full house remodel. You're not just redoing the washing machine room. You're not doing the mud room over. It is top to bottom, tear down, build it back up. I need some guys that can hit on this defense. I know that they have guys with range. I know they have tall DBs. That's nice. That's flashy. That's cool. What happens when nobody can tackle a Utah tight end? You lose football games. LSU clears this game.
Who's the washer? Who's the dryer? Who's the sink in this situation? Because you were just talking remodeling. We need to fully connect the.
I
saw laying an egg.
I saw the gears turning, and I thought you were going to.
It was a weird analogy. When you make weird analogies, I'm going to point them out.
One was a small remodel in a house. The other is a complete house tear down and rebuild. LSU being the small remodel. I'm sure that's a weird analogy.
Sure.
I'm not gonna crush you because I know you're a little.
All right, fuck off! Don't patronize me.
I'm not
patronizing. I told you I was sick.
Just take it a little easy on you. I know you got a little tum hurt.
F off. Okay.
I'll get you a ginger ale if you want. Okay. A little ice pack.
I'm gonna. You know what? I'm not gonna. I'm gonna save the vulgarities. I was gonna say that if there is a sprint to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I'm coming into your room.
Damn near 400 pounds and drinking liquor again. How are you sick before me?
I don't know. You're not near 400 pounds, are you?
Feels like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've plateaued, and now the dysmorphia is coming back.
Oh no. Did you have a bad weekend? Oh yeah, because the face issue.
It's the face issue. And I'll, let me.
Yeah.
Duke's crushed me today on the show, and not in a bad. He wasn't like trying to hurt my feelings, but he made a point that kind of encapsulated all of it. He said, jokingly, "How where's the credibility now? It looks like I'm doing a show with an 11-year-old boy.
Did you show him the picture of you on the couch with the?
No, I didn't show him.
You
that
need him to
picture.
show him the picture of you on the couch with the Switch that you were playing. You look like an enormous toddler.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I keep bringing that up.
It's fair. It's fair. This is my face. Unfortunately, I am building this football beard so I can cover all of this
progress.
it'll be. it'll be a month before I have an inkling of a mustache back. I am sick to my stomach about this.
Ron Lowry just commented Penn State fan and then a laughing emoji, but I think that was in relation to the 11-year-old comment, and we're just going to move past that.
Oh, Ron, come on.
I hope that's not what he was going for. All right, let's talk about this Florida State game.
Ron, wrong show also. What are you doing? God.
Florida State fell to Georgia Tech this Saturday in Ireland. We were live for the entirety of it. Again, reminder, we will be live this upcoming weekend for multiple games, for the entirety of the games, if you want to catch those and tune in. Oh my God, Ron.
I know. That's, yeah, I
can't. Holy shit.
The watch along was a fun time.
Yeah.
We appreciate everyone popping in, asking questions. It's what we're doing. We're going to be watching these full games. So you can leave, you can come back. You can ask us what's going on, big play, bad play. A lot of DJU stinks last weekend. The interaction that we had is we're hoping to keep it moving upwards and get everybody involved. That's what it's supposed to feel like. You're watching a game on the couch with us.
To talk about the game, though, I mean, I don't know how you can't just look at it and feel underwhelmed for the expectations for Florida State. Like, my biggest... Ron is so distracted right now. Oh, my God. All right, I need to stay completely locked in. I appreciate you commenting, and I know that the target audience for this show tends to share the same sense of humor with you, Ron.
Is he trying to make the chat?
I don't know. And I know that if Rack was here, the two of them would be having a field day right now with the commentary that's happening in this chat. But to get back on track, I feel like you can't not focus on the commotion that Florida State created this offseason about wanting to leave the ACC and all of this and making it seem like they were shortchanged by the conference from getting left out of the playoff, not because of their quarterback being hurt and unavailable and the playoff committee not wanting to watch you slop around against a team that is going to kick your ass because you're starting your backup quarterback. After everything that they went through, they show up with what was supposed to be a really good defensive line. They got blown off the ball by a better coach team. You were out-schemed by a better offensive coordinator when yours was suspended. I can't help but just continue to look at what was brutal, just a brutal way for them to come out and start this year. You can't do that if you're Florida State with all of the talking that you've been doing and all of the pushing that you deserve to be in a much better, stronger environment. You deserve more money, and you can't beat a team in Georgia Tech that has frankly been on the weaker side in the conference. And I give a ton of credit to Georgia Tech for the way that they played in this game. But I support Florida State in their endeavors, but it is really lame the way that they played.
How many straight games does Florida State have to win for you to forget about this Georgia Tech loss, or for it to be less meaningful to you? What does their and one record have to be? 7-1, 8-1, 9. Where does that land for you? Where you say that was just a weird week 0 game? Because for me, it's like 10-1, 11-1. That was a hideous
They need to win the ACC to completely save themselves, which implies that they beat Miami and then they win the ACC championship game over. Is it Clemson? Is it Miami? They beat them a second time. Like, they need to. I don't think a 10-2 season where Georgia Tech's record could not look that great because their schedule is extremely hard.
They had like the third hardest. They threw that graphic up during the game.
Yeah. You have to, one, hope that Georgia Tech finishes the year ranked. Like that is what you need to be praying for, that they finish 8-4.
That'd be a brave new world, man.
And that they're like the 20th team in the country, which is doable for them. Again, I was really impressed. They proved me wrong in that game, but you need to win the conference. I don't think a 10-2 Florida State team with the way that they played, and if they continue to play this way with multiple losses, 9-3 is definitely not getting in, but 10-2 might be a little bit of a stretch.
It was one of those rare games this past weekend where I was able to lose all respect for a team, where I was able to say, this is the exact opposite of how you want to start a game. And credit to Georgia Tech, they did the exact opposite of how Georgia Tech starts their seasons, where they go out and get a huge, massive win. But Florida State, that win, it felt so that loss felt so despicable because of effort, because of game planning, and because of how the defense that was hyped up failed to execute and perform. And I message board geniuses has been all over the place with the Florida State fans this week. People are blaming the jet lag. Georgia Tech had to fly to. Everyone had to fly there. They can make excuse after excuse, but that day Georgia Tech was the better team on that field, and that's damning for Florida State. That is one that I'm not going to forget about all year of how they opened that game up. They would have to really turn around this season and start blowing out ACC teams week after week in a dominant fashion. They can't.
The offense to do that. I think what's really disappointing, I had no expectation that DJU was going to be a world beater and that he was going to take this massive leap forward. I don't think anyone really did. But what was disappointing was the interior defensive line got bodied. And that was supposed to be something that you could rely on. And the rushing attack got redundant and completely shut down eventually later on in this game.
Yeah, their offense was super stale in the second half.
Yeah, those were supposed to be two strengths that you could rely on. And maybe the run game is the factor of like DJU not being able to take shots effectively and not being able to open up the offense. And Georgia Tech knew that they were one-dimensional. There needs to be vast offensive improvement. And I will say, I will give him a little bit of grace. Alex Atkins coming back after the suspension, you could tell he obviously scripted that first drive with the diversity of rushing plays that they had. He could come back and that offense could completely regather its footing. It totally could. But that's, I think, asking for a lot, seeing how much DJU put on tape that can now get exposed.
Once we signed up for the DJU experience, I knew our season was #cooked. That was me talking to a buddy who's an extreme Florida State fan. They know. These fans that are real fans of the team and track it all year and track everything know what this season is. #cooked. And he was nice and rational with me, and he wasn't getting all, it was a respectful conversation, which was nice. But my barometer for Florida State is they are just about done for. Be fun this year. Create chaos in the ACC. That's what your role should be this year, Florida State. You have been put into it early due to your futility against Georgia Tech. Why I've called them Georgia State. I am a jackass.
Disrespect.
Three times this weekend I've called them Georgia State.
Really? You've done that on multiple
I did it on the stream at the final call like a moron.
Yeesh. That's a tough scene. All right, let's move on. Final segment on today's show. Just some final thoughts around the NFL. A couple things that have happened. CeeDee Lamb got his new contract. We're going to get to that in a second. You and I were having some discourse the other day about Anthony Richardson and just general expectations for him. There's been a lot of people that have gone as far as to say that he shouldn't even start for the Colts, which is an insane take to have. The guy's a great athlete. He played a very small amount last year. It's going to take some time for him to get into a rhythm. We knew he was going to be extremely raw jumping into the NFL, and it wasn't going to be an easy, immediate process. But he also shined to us enough last year to know if he struggles as a passer, he's going to be dynamic enough of an athlete and as a runner that he can make up for it. I feel like there's a bit of an overreaction to the Anthony Richardson situation here. I think that he is going to be completely fine. Is he good enough for them to go on an unexpected playoff run and to be like the Texans were last year with CJ Stroud? I'm not going to go that far, but I feel like we continuously overreact to these guys in the preseason. It's like that dipshit, the first round mock guy who keeps sharing.
I heard he was an NFL scout.
Yeah, I think that he was. Yeah, he keeps sharing that he was. No, he was fetching coffee. He commented on my Kenny Pickett tweet. And he tried to push his one of his articles, and I responded and I said, "Don't promote your shit underneath mine." And a couple people chimed in. They're like, "Don't tell him what to do." I didn't bother to respond, but I almost said, no, it has nothing to do with people promoting stuff underneath this. I just don't like this guy specifically. This guy sucks.
I texted that to Ryan this week.
Did you?
Hey, I heard this guy was an NFL scout. He's like, yeah, I'm sure he was.
But like the whole 50% completion percentage thing for Caleb Williams, that anyone who wants to bring that up means nothing to me. It's the preseason 1 and 2. Anthony Richardson is young. He's not going to be perfectly clean. You pushed back on this, but it took Josh Allen time to get as dominant as he was. It's going to take a few years.
I pushed back on a take that you hit me with when we were getting beers and brunch in Los Angeles last summer. We were at that beach place.
You're getting beers and brunch in Los Angeles.
It was at that burger bar, the surf bar. It was a pretty good bar. It was a pretty good burger. But you said Anthony Richardson will be a top 5 quarterback in 3 years.
Yeah, and I stand by that.
Which that was last year, which is ridiculous.
He also got hurt the previous year, so he
let's just walk through. Let's walk through a quick 5 and tell me if he'll be better than these 5 in the next.
Okay.
I think year now time frame. Patrick Mahomes.
No, obviously not.
Okay. Joe Burrow.
Probably not.
Okay. Josh Allen.
Probably not.
Lamar Jackson.
Probably not.
Justin Herbert.
I think he'd be better than Justin Herbert.
Caleb Williams.
Oh, that one's a tough one.
C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, that's a tough one too.
Okay.
No,
look.
I still no.
I think it's easy to hate on Anthony Richardson. It's easy because he's big, and a big inaccurate quarterback is easy to pick on, especially if they have strength with their legs. They're an easy target for losers on the internet to hate on. So I can see both sides of it. But the overwhelming that statement that you had is stuck with me. I've never forgotten it. Because he hasn't shown me anything of him being a top 15 quarterback. He was hurt. He hasn't
played. He's been hurt.
Why did he get hurt? Because he was running like a madman and got hurt.
Okay, God forbid the guy that's a big, strong athlete is running and using his legs. He's going to do that.
Then do it. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt if you're going to be that big and strong and that freaky of an athlete. I watched Cam Newton do it. I watched Josh Allen do it. I watched Ben Roethlisberger go through it and be the big, fat, slow, mobile guy that somehow evades and extends plays. I've seen these big hosses run around in the backfield and not get injured every time. That you need to be able to stay on the field if you're Anthony Richardson. You need to show off your arm this year, and then maybe you could be in the conversation of a top 20 quarterback, a top 15 quarterback.
Top 20 is
he averaged 144 yards a game last year.
How many games did he play?
4 games.
That's 4 games. We're not going to go, and as a rookie, we're not going to go off of that as the sample size to evaluate him.
So he has another 34 games before he has to be top 5, in your opinion. Can he be top 5 in 34 games? He would need an MVP season this year or next year.
Obviously, my take is going to be disrupted by the fact that he got hurt last year. Like, that hurts him because he needs more time.
I'll give you another year. I'll scratch out the rookie year completely.
You'll give me an extra year?
I'll give you an extra year on that.
You mentioned all those guys' names, and yes, I might have been quick to say, oh, I'm not so sure about these guys, and saying no to some of them, that he's ranked higher than them. But it can't be ignored that he has top 3 traits to play quarterback in the NFL. He is the most rare athlete to play the position in the NFL at the current moment. The only other guy that compares to him is Cam freaking Newton. That's it. It's the only guy.
What about Joe Milton?
I know you didn't just compare.
If we're talking traits, if you want to talk traits, Joe.
No, okay. Yes, Joe Milton is big and strong and has a big arm. There is a there is a separation for natural feel for the game that. Shut up!
Put him in a blender.
Don't bring up Joe Milton in this conversation. He's not in the stratosphere of the conversation. I'd love to see him throw a 15-yard pass that isn't with the same power as a 60-yard throw.
I'd love to see that from Richardson.
I saw some crap on from the broadcast yesterday where they were saying like, oh, Joe Milton was saying that he could throw 95 yards. Yeah, he throws like he's trying to throw 95 yards on a 5-yard drag across the middle of the field. He's got no touch. Don't bring him up with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has a much more natural feel for the game.
I wasn't bringing him up as from a quarterback standpoint. I was bringing up from a quarterback trait standpoint. And now he matches some traits in the 0.0 or the 99.9 percentile of humans on Earth.
Milton doesn't belong in the conversation that we're having right now because he will never start a game.
Because it doesn't fit your narrative.
Shut up. The Tennessee guy at Barstool was getting into an argument with somebody.
I saw that.
I think it was with Brandon Walker.
Arguing with Brandon Walker.
They were arguing that his argument was that he would start more than 3 NFL games in his career.
I think he said he would also have at least an 8-year NFL career.
That's him sticking around. I could totally see. Because there's use for a guy that's as athletic as him if he's sticking around as a quarterback. And if his career trajectory taps out as a quarterback, he could end up playing another position, which has always been my take. And that's going to give him some more time. But him starting, no, there's no way. If any
I
team
think
starts him out of desperation, they are cooked. That team is not making the playoffs, whoever it is.
I think he could be a top 46 quarterback in the NFL. That is 32 and another half. So he's in the top full teams and in the top half of the backups in the NFL. Joe Milton can. That's what I think that he could do.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I think he's better than a lot of the backups right now. And I don't think seeing him start 3 games is impossible. Look at what we've seen from Jarrett Stidham and the push that he's gotten over the years. There's some bums in the league that keep on getting signed up to start games and start training camps as number 1 QBs. Milton is not too far away in my expectations.
Let's get to CeeDee Lamb, and then we'll close out the show after that. So he got the new contract, and you're making a very apt point here. And what is that?
CeeDee Lamb, new contract signed today. He's getting like $36 million a year, $38 a year for 4 years. I thought it was gross negligence from the Cowboys to have such a distraction through training camp. It doesn't help the football team, but this doesn't matter for Dallas. They don't have a second option on the wide outside on the outside, and they don't have any running backs. It is an embarrassing running back room. Go ahead and look at it if you have time. I think Ezekiel Elliott is your starter, and then you have Kevontae Turpin backing him up. And then I believe Royce Freeman is the third guy with a Deuce Vaughn compliment at 4th. And now I saw tweets, hey, maybe Dalvin Cook is going to be going on a visit to Dallas tonight.
I saw well, I don't know if there was any legitimacy to that.
I didn't see it, but it would make sense.
I kept one of the stupidest bits that happens on Twitter is, hey, this guy who is kind of at the end of his career or well past it posted a video of himself working out, and they're always on one leg. They're always on one leg throwing something or jumping.
I like the Todd Gurley leg press. That's what I go back
They're always off balance when they're doing these workouts, and they're like, oh yeah, like whoa, look how explosive he looks, and then suddenly the gears start turning for the mouth breathers on Twitter, and then suddenly that player's getting a tryout or is getting signed just off of just arbitrary projection from people on Twitter. I don't know if there is truth to that. I think it's not a bad idea because you can't jump into the season with just Zeke. I don't know if Dalvin Cook, though.
You can't jump into a season with that running back room. There has to be. You have.
But like, how much does Dalvin Cook like really help you? Is there someone that they could trade for?
I don't know. They have that running back situation. If I saw Zeke play a lot last year, Zeke looked slower on the outside than I've ever seen. More lethargic of a running back that I've seen in a long time. That is not a compliment.
Oh, he is getting a free agent visit. Okay, so that is real. Sorry.
Yeah. I like also feels better than he has in years. So is Julio Jones every offseason for the last 5 years. All right. They're fun little buzzwords you could pick up on for these late August editions. You didn't see any of that with Justin Simmons. He was just looking for a good deal. You didn't see any of that with Matt Judon. He was looking for a good deal. These guys that the market has decided their value, they are going to find a way to get their deal. Running backs, it's a different story where you always are pitching yourself. It's always, I got gas in the tank, coach. The legs are feeling good. That knee, don't worry about it. That ankle and Achilles, we're good. I can give you 17 games of pass block for you. If they bring Dalvin Cook in, it can't possibly hurt them. I don't know what the hell I was watching with him on the Jets last year. That was a very weird version of Dalvin Cook compared to Dalvin Cook just 1 year prior.
And then he didn't really do anything for the Ravens. I forget how long he was there even for.
It was one of the biggest mysterious fall-offs in NFL running back history to me. Because the year before, he was taking 80-yard passes to the house on screen plays against the Colts in a massive comeback fashion for the Vikings. He was an instrumental piece of that offense. And then one offseason, it's over, it's done with. Did the Jets really ruin Dalvin Cook that quickly? I know they had a bad O-line. He should have done better in Baltimore.
Why am I like completely forgetting the context of like him joining the Ravens? Like he didn't even get any carries. Why does none of that like register?
I remember by the Jets because he wasn't doing anything.
I remember that, but like I don't know why. Like I remember him signing with the Ravens, and then
I think Dobbins was hurt last year.
Yeah, I recall all of that. They were kind of shuffling through running backs. Now they need to bring in somebody. By the way, this should be brought up. we haven't been doing NFL analysis long on this show, and we're starting to do it more and more. And we did say on the show that somebody should trade for John Mechie. And one of the first things that came out today was teams are picking up the phone and trying to trade for John Mechie.
Well, we started as an NFL show. It's kind of going back to the roots here.
I know that is funny to think that where this started, and it just kind of, I guess it comes full circle.
There's been a lot of variations in 5 years.
Soon Jake Fryer will be back, and he will be this is the table, the infamous table. By the way.
Is that really it?
This is the infamous table.
You're taking up this much room in this.
You don't
studio
recognize this from
this piece
from
of
college?
garbage hollow table.
I miss.
Where's
how
the
much,
mark, brother? Where's the beer bottle mark?
I'd have to look. There's too much.
Oh,
shit
because
on
there
the
was
table.
no mark.
There was a mark. He marked the table.
I did
He
not
marked
know
the table.
that I was sacrificing so much space in this studio for this piece of this table.
I miss how much room we had to record. In
in
that
your-
old
it-
apartment,
oh.
we had like a whole. It was
like an
basically
acre.
Yeah, and we
We were
would
watching
set up
the
old
ocean.
tables.
Yeah, it was great. Let's
God.
go live back there next year.
Honestly, we'll call Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. Oh, God, Jerry.
All right, let's we're gonna wrap it up on that note. We're gonna be back Wednesday 8:30. Thursday we're gonna be live for the Colorado North Dakota State game, the entirety of it. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe. Drop a comment below what you think on what we talked about today. Florida State, the Week 1 slate of games, and also some of our final preseason thoughts. We'll talk to you folks later. Enjoy the rest of your week.